Okay, hello and welcome. My name is Wulf Kaal. Thanks for being here. Before I get started, I want to thank Alexander and Saskia for hosting and inviting me again. I spoke here about a month ago at a different event, and I see so many friendly faces. Thanks for being here. Before I get started, can I get a show of hands? How many people are using ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude? Everybody. Okay. How many people are using it monthly? Weekly? Daily? Hourly? Okay. Okay, excellent. How many people have problems with hallucinations? Not themselves, with the AI. Oh, quite a few. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let me just say, it's getting better. So we're all using presumably 3 or 4 right now. And if you think about the data that was used to train them, the data cutoff for ChatGPT 4, I believe was August 23. With ChatGPT 5, just in terms of the amount of data that has been used to train the model and the model quality that comes out of this will be significantly above what we're currently using, right? So if we're worried about hallucinations, we may still be worried about it with ChatGPT 5, but maybe less so, yeah, over time. And what do we take from this? Well, it's exponential growth, yeah? I used to teach charts with exponential growth where you show the lines, but I felt that this model or this picture in this overview is even more powerful. So the biggest animal on the planet Earth, equivalent to ChatGPT 5. I'm not sure what comes afterwards, but it's quite significant. So AI learning. AI uses deep learning. Most or many of you know about this. Deep learning enables AIs to recognize complex patterns in data sets that we all experience, and AI can generate accordingly insights that are unparalleled. I mean, I've been using it for over a year in my own research, and I've been writing in Web3 and Web3 governance for over a decade, and I swear it's better than I am already. Yeah, so when I use it, it's just amazing what it can see. So in terms of terminology, so of course on the outer rim it's computer science, cognitive science, biology, philosophy, math. Then we talk about artificial intelligence as an umbrella term. Machine learning is the most common type of that, and then deep learning, of course, at the core to experience what we see as users today. But it all starts with data. And let me say up front, at AL, AI learning ecosystem, we are focused exclusively, if you want, at the front end, at the data input parameters for this for these model optimizations that we're seeing. So there's the output on the experts system in the perform task environment that we all see. There's the learned patterns, the predictions, and then the perform task. Everything starts with data. Yeah? There is no such thing as AI without data. And that's where AI learning starts. And the disruption that comes out of this, as many know, we've seen the New York Times, Goldman Sachs, all predicting that about 44% or so of all tasks across industries will be disrupted and taken over by these systems. There, of course, is still public debate about this, but to me, this is inevitable, right? So predictive analytics, powered by AI, the competitive edge that comes out of this is unparalleled. The costs are coming down. It's all happening in parallel, if you want. The automation that comes out of this is so significant, and the disruptions and the scaling that come out of this is unparalleled in business, as far as I can tell. Where do we see this the most? Let me say something provocative. Don't die in the next 10 years. We don't want to die either way, but don't die in the next 10 years. Why? Because these models can create new solutions for healthcare in our personal health, be it cancer, longevity, that we couldn't create before. Yeah? The learning that comes out of this is so significant that we have the ability, in my humble opinion, never mind the long pharmaceutical trial periods, to develop new technology-driven solutions for healthcare that will propel us to longevity objectives that we couldn't even talk about before. Yeah? So in Silicon Valley, some of the folks they're talking about realistically people making it to 100 as a baseline. Yeah? So, and beyond, of course. Now, of course, this is across different industry, retail, manufacturing, finance, all affected in this logic. Now, what's the challenge for this? The challenge is data, right? So it doesn't matter which model you're looking at, whether it's a large neural network, medium, small, or traditional machine learning, they all depend on data. And the correlation is the performance of the model is correlated with the data and the data quality that goes into the model. Yeah? And if we look at only on the right side here, right, what it's taking to get to this model. So only in blue is only the actual model, right? The actual model tuning, the model algorithm development, and the model training, all in blue. Everything else that's associated with the model development, at about 80% of time spent on the machine learning projects themselves, is all related to data. Yeah? So the data is the linchpin, the starting point, right? So it's data cleaning, labeling, augmentation, aggregation, identification, and so forth, right? It's all data, yeah? And so the pain point is data quality, right? So many of you will know that a lot of these models, they're in silos right now. Yeah? So the industry comes in, they buy a model, they develop their own model, they train it on their proprietary data sets, and it's siloed in that data set that is available, right? So the healthcare industry, the data cleaning alone will probably take another 3 years or so, right, to be able to get to the next iteration of how to use these models. And because it's siloed, the industry across industries requires proprietary data developed that is used above and beyond the proprietary data that they already have. Yeah? So where is all this data coming from? High quality, diverse data. Real pain point for AI development. Yeah? And and this goes hand in hand with the scarcity and the need for humans to actually put together and create these data sets. And that's where AI learning ecosystem comes in. I'll explain this in more detail in a second. So some of you may have heard about other forms of synthetic data. And the rise of synthetic data, right? So Alex knows about this. So there's a lot of data on people creating their own data, made-up data, quote unquote, synthetic data, to train AI models. That is true, that the growth is quite significant, but all driven by human data that generated by humans. Yeah, so the synthetic data and the human-generated data, they go hand in hand. Yeah? And there's quite significant inefficiencies right now in this market, and we haven't used the 1.4 billion people who are unbanked right now to help generate these data sets that are inevitably needed for the evolution of AI systems. And the market is quite significant. We looked at different data sets for this, and this is the most conservative growth model for the market, with a compound annual growth rate here of over 28%. And you see the breakdown, it's very much predominated by North America, Europe, Asia Pacific. Yeah? And this is a huge opportunity. This is a huge business opportunity given this growth data for data providers. And they are both data providers in Web 2 or traditional systems, as well as, in our humble opinion, in Web 3 systems. And what I will explain here is that Web 3 systems in many ways have a competitive edge in this as we're building out these solutions. Yeah? Now, what is microtask work? Many of you will know that about 14 years ago, Amazon decided to launch Mechanical Turk. And Mechanical Turk is this idea of allowing humans to annotate data, validate data, provide data cleaning services, and data augmentation. Yeah? Because already 14 years ago, it became clear that there's a real market and need for this. And Mechanical Turk and Crowdflower, the traditional providers, were mandating and setting this up at the time already. Now, here, in this context, the growth of this market is quite staggering in the context of, so we've seen the TAM for the overall data generation market for AI and other systems, and feeding this market, if you want, is the microtask market with 35% compound annual growth rates. Yeah? So these are billions of microtasks that are completed yearly with demand. Demand is consistently rising across the board. And these microtasks involve breaking down complex tasks into smaller manageable ones. Complex tasks are divided into microtasks that can be completed by independently by human workers, and so forth. Now, there are significant shortcomings in this existing model that we see with Crowdflower and Mechanical Turk. Look, I mean, they have launched this market, and we need to give them credit for, if you want, leveling the playing field and starting this. But they're subject to significant shortcomings, and those include overpricing, right? And the way these centralized platforms structure their business and how they inflate prices for microtask work for their clients. This is often driven by the need to duplicate the work, right? So if you have a data set to train a machine algorithm on what are cats, and you have this typical microtask where if you have people, individuals clicking on pictures of cats without ears to teach the machine that cats without ears are still cats, yeah? In order to maintain quality in these data sets, the existing systems duplicate the work 15 times. So 15 different people have to create the same data set because of the human fallibility in order to generate high-quality data sets that can be used for machine learning and other systems. Yeah? And at AL, we believe that we can bring those numbers significantly down. Let me say this up front quickly. Reputation systems in Web3, I've worked in Web3 governance for over a decade. In the AL context, we can use reputation systems to significantly bring down that duplication cost. I personally believe the number is below half of what the current systems are using, but we have to show the data for that. Yeah? So we believe we can bring it down by at least half in terms of duplication, simply by ranking people output and giving them reputation scores. Yeah? Lack of access is a huge problem in the existing market. Many of you will know that in the last bull run there were several startups that tried to address this with Web3 systems. And we're not allowing the 1.4 billion unbanked to actually help participate in this growth, the growth of this market. And so access is a real problem that can be addressed with Web3 systems. Let me go through this. I'm running out of time. How does AL work? So the way we approach this is by simply starting with having a client upload the request to create a data set, and the respective data set request then goes to the workers on the platform, and all the eligible workers can graduate into the system through reputation metrics, right? So you start with bot or not, swipe left or right to create a data set on what is a machine. Once you have a reputation score in that community, you can then graduate to more complex tasks with more complex assignments, if you want. Everything is consensus driven, yeah? So the reputation algorithm that we use always is aiming for consensus. Yeah? So a data set goes into the system, workers perform tasks. The consensus of the underlying consensus requirements in the system ensure that we can bring costs down, yeah? Because this is community consensus on the work performed, which allows us to create reputation scores that are driven by consensus, which brings down the duplication cost. Yeah? And then at the end of a given work performed, the reputation and the respective AL payouts are now being distributed. So for companies, we provide a global workforce, high quality outputs. As I said, economies of scale are quite significant because of the reduction of the duplication costs that are otherwise associated with traditional providers. It's a decentralized, diverse global workforce. It's reputation driven. Skill-based communities for specialized tasks, and gamification is quite important here. So, how many people know Axie Infinity? Okay, so huge proof point, right? You have millions of people in Southeast Asia quitting their day jobs to start playing an Ethereum-based game to make a living. To me, that is the ultimate proof point that people are looking for alternative means of making income. And we believe at AL that we can combine the gamification that comes out of Axie Infinity, where it was a pure game, with actual underlying AI learning task creation. And that's a key objective for us. Whether that's a full-on game that's played in this context, or if it's a gamified engagement to develop microtask works for AI data outputs. Yeah? We think it's a huge economic opportunity for microtask workers, and there is merit-based compensation. We actually believe we can pay our microtask workers more because of the efficiencies that we create through Web3 systems and the consensus-driven reputation logic. That, to us, is a form of liberation of the workforce, especially in the 1.4 billion unbanked, and that scales equity. I already spoke about the reputation to remove costs, and I see I'm running out of time. Last point I want to make is there's significant transaction cost minimization alone. So if we don't even think about the reputation logic and bringing down duplication cost through Web3 systems and governance and consensus-driven algorithms, just the use alone of Web3 systems brings down transaction costs dramatically, which helps the systems to scale. And with that, I see I'm running out of time. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you for listening. Alex, I know you want to ask a question.
Yeah, so the price setting for those microtasks, how would you do that? Do you think it's something that me who works there has to say, oh, I want to get paid $1 to basically label that? Or do you think it's just like something that needs to be set automatically by a centralized solution?
I believe you're right. There will be an initial platform-driven pricing that is subject to market factors, though, right? So this environment is starting with the pricing basics that come out of the traditional systems, where Web3 will underprice that. I think that's pretty clear. And then in the Web3 environment, there will be market factors that drive pricing because we need to attract the workers to our platform. So if the pricing is better on another platform, we will have to adjust our pricing. But as I said, it's the fact that we can use reputation systems allows us to underprice consistently as the system scales.
Specifically when it comes to governance, I assume this model provides an incentive for participants to vote and engage in governance through the AL token you presented. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, so there are different governance metrics involved. I wrote a book about this core logic of how Web3 systems governance has to be attack resistant. In the initial communities, we literally have a bot or not environment where a collective of people, left swipe, right swipe, will identify with a right swipe whether something is a bot or not. And the consensus is generated by those people who swiped right, identifying the bot as a bot or not. Yeah? Now that is a very simplified form of governance, and Web3 systems are especially prone to attacks, as you may know. So as the tasks get more complex, we need to use more complex governance metrics. That's a much bigger question. I'm happy to answer that later if you're interested. Happy to go through it. But as we to finish this, as we build these systems, the more complex the task, the more we have to put governance metrics out to ensure the quality of the underlying work performed. Yeah. We do. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you very much.